Reports have come out that some members of the Toronto Raptors organization have grown frustrated with Darko Rajakovic incentivization for a little win streak for the Toronto Raptors team. So we'll discuss that because that's something I think is pretty crazy. Additionally, we have some future plans for the Toronto Raptors revealed as the team understands some of their shortcomings right now and some players that could potentially get traded. So we'll dive into that as well as a Bronny James update as we have some inside info in terms of whether or not he'll actually get drafted, as the Raptors have previously been linked as a team interested in drafting Bronny. So lots of stuff to dive into in this video. Before we do that, folks, we are very close to hitting that 34,000 subscriber mark. So it would mean the world to me if you guys could hit that subscribe button so we can hit another milestone this year on the Raptors Digest. But let's dive in the first topic of discussion. The first thing we're taking a look at is members of the Raptors organization frustrated with Darko Rajakovic. And this is something that has rubbed me the wrong way, not just with, some of the comments made out there on Twitter. Some Raptors pundits have been similar in this sort of alignment, and it's just something that I don't like, because Darko Rajakovic, yes, especially starting off, early in his coaching career, some of his rotations were strange, some of his utilizations, positioning of certain players didn't make a heck ton of sense, but I thought he's got better as the season has gone along. But one thing I've always appreciated about Darko is, one, his positivity. He says all the right things in the media, backs his players, does all these types of things, which I think is huge for building trust with your organization, building trust with your players, and something where Nick Nurse, again, I still regard him as probably a top 3 coach in the NBA, top 3, 4, whatever, but that's one shortcoming he certainly have. He could rub people the wrong way, could isolate people, and, guys like Gary Trent Jr., Malachi Flynn, regardless of what you think of those guys as basketball players, you want your coach to support the players regardless. And I thought Darko does that to a great extent. And it seems like, and that's public facing. That's what we get to see. But it also seems like from everything we're hearing about how much the players like Darko, he's a player's coach. He has the support of a lot of guys. Dennis Schroeder has sung his praises a bunch, but a lot of assistants, a lot of places he's been. He does a lot of things to build a positive sort of environment for the team, outside. That's not just public facing. And obviously, one of the big ones, one of the big memes was the pizza party he was trying to throw right when the Raptors had a win streak. Darko Rajakovic was gonna get that pizza party rocking, and yes, it became a little bit of a meme. Yes, people were sort of roasting it, and I think Will Lou and Blake Murphy especially really criticized just his positivity and leaning into that type of stuff, and I just don't like that. I don't really like that, and it seems like I think that's a good thing to have as a head coach and team. Building positive vibes, especially for a younger group, especially for a team that right now is focused on developing. I think that's a positive. But there are some people in the Raptors organizations, I'm sure there's some people in the comment section right now, I do think it's a little bit weird and rubbed the wrong way about Darko being ultimately positive. And this is basically what Josh Lundberg recently revealed, saying that also an unfortunate timing for a young team that was starting to show signs of promise. This is coming from an article referring to Scotty Barnes' potentially season-ending injury, but likely season-ending injury. But last week, the Raptors won 3 games in a row for the first time all season. And they celebrated with a pizza party, courtesy of head coach Darko Rajakovic, that didn't sit well with everybody in the organization. But the players had fun with it, and in a season that has been defined by franchise-altering change, fun has been in short supply. So, again, this is something that I don't understand why members of the Raptors organization would be frustrated by. I get instilling a culture of, hey, 3 games is nothing, job's not finished, all those Kobe Bryant, those alpha male, that crazy noise in the background on TikTok memes. There's a huge sort of, people that believe that this, head coach and stuff on a younger team should be harder on players, should drive to really, be a tough guy. Hey, you can't just be happy with 3 wins. We need to be winning a ton of games and all that type of stuff. And yes, I do think that coaches, that front office, that everyone should be instilling a culture of winning, should be focused on, hey, 3 games is what it is. We should be looking to bigger and better aspirations, but there's no reason not to celebrate sort of the little wins. And that doesn't mean to take away and just sit back, oh, you won 3 games and now things are over and stuff. Darko hasn't really come off by any means, by any stretch of the imagination, as someone that's saying, hey, we just want to hit this minor goal and then, give you a blue ribbon and stuff. And, the participation trophy sort of idea, that type of argument. And, there's validity to the participation trophy criticisms and stuff. And again, this is all opinion based by me now at this point, but I don't think that's what Darko's doing. I don't like the criticism of someone that has said all the right things about winning, building a developing team and instilling a winning culture, and then just criticizing him when he does show some positivity, when they do some things that end up in that right direction. I don't know. That's just me. You can disagree or not. It should be a fun, interesting little debate. I'm not saying one's right or wrong. I'm just giving my sort of opinion on it. And some people in the Raptors organization are frustrated with that approach from Darko Rajakovic. Something I found pretty interesting topic. Love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. But the next thing we're taking a look at is the Raptors' future plans revealed. Now, Doug Smith always does these Q&As and stuff on the Toronto Star, and he was asked some questions about, what's happened with the Toronto Raptors, some of their shortcomings and things along those lines, and basically he revealed a couple things. One, a guy that's probably going to get dealt, as well as how the Toronto Raptors view their current roster. Basically, came out and said, I got the manual quickly, meant to bring this picture up earlier, but IQ, RJ, a lot of the team seem to love the pizza parties, but a little tangent there. But basically, Doug Smith said the Raptors are very small all over the roster, and that has to be addressed this summer. They know it. He tried to find a trade partner for Chris Boucher at the trade deadline, and they didn't find a fit that they liked. They will revisit, and I'm convinced they will find a new spot for him. So basically, the Toronto Raptors have two things, part of their future plans that they're going to be dealing with. Firstly, they look at this roster as something that's a little bit too small. They need some size, and it's kind of crazy because the Raptors were kind of regarded as, even though we didn't have a center, right, the team was pretty big, pretty big, pretty long, lots of 6'9" players, versatile guys out there in the lineup, and then just within, a month, ahead of this year's trade deadline, the Raptors went from a big sort of lanky forward-centric team to early guard-oriented group, a smaller team, and that's something that will have to be addressed, bringing in some size, and at least we do have two actual centers. I think this is more well-balanced than what we had before with the 6'9" sort of group, especially just based off of skill sets, and some of the guys can play bigger than they actually are, but that is something, some rebalancing of the roster, something that will have to happen during this offseason. Again, this current team, it's a work in progress. It's patched things together. The summer with free agency, some more trades that could potentially go down, as we'll talk about next, right? That's something that can be adjusted and can be tweaked. But again, the second part of this, Chris Boucher is also likely to get dealt. And this is something that pretty well every Raptors beat reporter indicated leading up to the trade deadline, but his trade value just hasn't been that high. And basically from the things we heard at this year's trade deadline, basically people weren't happy with Chris Boucher having this year and next year on his contract. He's not an expiring deal just yet, a pretty decent amount of money. So this offseason, Chris Boucher will be an expiring. He's still a very solid player as well. I mean, even though he's not playing for the Toronto Raptors right now, not old, like washed by any means, only 31 years old, averaging 6 points, 4 rebounds this season, 32% from the three-point line, but a guy that can play defense, can hustle, can knock down threes, can space the floor, not in a crazy, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry level clip, but is a capable floor spacer for your team. Chris Boucher, the Raptors shouldn't have any trouble finding him a home and getting at least some type of draft capital, some type of asset back for Chris Boucher, especially where he'll be on an expiring contract. So those are a couple things the Raptors can kind of look at, in terms of their future plans. But the last thing we're taking a look at is a Bronny James draft update. Now, a lot has been made about the Toronto Raptors' interest in Bronny James. They're a team that's been scouting him a bunch, and obviously the caveat, hey, you bring in Bronny James. Does LeBron James sign with your team? What happens there? Well, we had some details revealed yesterday, some Woj reports coming out about the future of Bronny James, and basically Rich Paul's told ESPN that Bronny James's 2024 draft call, so whether or not he's going to declare for the draft or not, is based off team interest, not draft position. So basically, if the right team is interested in Bronny James, in the right sort of organization, the right sort of spot, then Bronny James will sort of declare for the draft and get selected by that team. If he isn't, he'll go back to college and accumulate more skills, get some more development, and then wait till he's in a position where he's more, coveted by different teams, the more ideal teams in the NBA. That report ended up going on to say that LeBron James also isn't going to force his way to any Bronny James team. However, it happens naturally, then it's something he'd very much welcome. So that's something. Those are sort of the little pieces, the little tidbits we're getting from Bronny James. No new specific Raptors updates, but he will declare for the 2024 draft if Rich Paul, if Bronny James, if these guys think there's a team that would make sense for him to sort of be on, is willing to draft him or select him as an underdrafted free agent, as a late first-round pick, all that type of stuff. So he's not worried about being, a top 5 selection or something like that. He's worried about going to the right destination. For a guy that, averaging 5 points per game, generally wouldn't really get drafted without that sort of name value, but Had a lot of stuff go on this season. Big name. You'll definitely bring in some eyeballs, some jersey sales, all these types of things to a team. So I wouldn't be surprised if a team does end up selecting him if Bronny James does declare. But had a tumultuous season again with heart stuff, health stuff. But it's going to be interesting to see how all that shakes out. The Raptors actually do end up drafting him. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. You guys are the best to make this far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. I'm signing out. Cheers.